Welcome to Let's Talk with Dr. Shanessa Fenner. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. Shanessa Fenner, and I have a very, very important guest today. He's a really, really good friend of mine, and we've gotten closer throughout the years. I have national jazz saxophonist Reggie Codrington. Welcome, Reggie.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Nice to have you. Now, Reggie, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I went to E.E. Smith High School. And after I graduated from high school, I went to Howard University and pursued a career in music and have been at it ever since. And this is going on almost 30 years for me that I've been playing saxophone and just in the world of music.
Now, Reggie, when did you first realize that you had a love of music and then, of course, a love for the instrument, the saxophone?
Well, I think I realized it from my memory and my parents telling me when I was like 4 years old. I showed a strong interest in wanting to play music and I was moved by music. I can remember hearing the South Carolina State Marching Band at 4 years old up at E.E. Smith High School, ironically, which is where I went to high school. And I just grabbed onto the fence and the music just kept me moving. I was dancing and would not be still. And my parents said, hey, Reggie's got music in him. So I've been doing it ever since, you know, and I mean, it's been a blessing, Okay.
Now, who do you look up to, or who are your inspirations when it comes to jazz music?
Well, I would have to say my inspiration would definitely be my father, Ray Codrington, who was an awesome trumpet player and percussionist and singer, was a band director, and spent a lot of time instilling, you know, music values in my life in terms of talking about, you know, practicing and, you know, exposing me to classical music, R&B music, you know, blues, and of course jazz. And being able to grow up with someone like that's that knowledgeable was a tremendous blessing for me.
Did he teach you how to play the saxophone?
Yes, to some degree he did. He used to sit with me in the room and would work with me and let me know what I needed to work on. And of course, there was always something for me to work on, so it was never a dull moment. But definitely, he inspired me, and I learned probably the majority of my musical knowledge from him.
So why the saxophone? Why not the clarinet or the flute?
Well, you know, I started out on the clarinet, but covering the tone holes was very difficult for me, especially as I got more advanced and wanted to play more difficult pieces. So I thought about it one day and I said, what would be a better instrument for me that I may have a better chance of really being able to manipulate the keys, and that turned out to be the saxophone. And so my father had one sitting around the house. It was an alto saxophone. And I found it by, you know, surprise one day, and I picked it up and I was like, I think I can do something with this. And then after that, I ended up, for graduation from high school, my parents gave me a curved soprano saxophone, and I fell in love with that so much. I didn't even, the night that they had given it to me, I didn't even want to go out and party and celebrate my graduation. I just wanted to stay home and play this new curved soprano that I had got, and that opened up a whole nother avenue of possibilities for me.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Reggie, of course, the music industry has changed tremendously. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there have been times, and that I don't know if you have ever felt like giving up or things were not, progressing the way that you wanted them to. Talk to me a little bit about that.
There have been many times that I wanted to give up, and I would be so frustrated, and I still have those moments to this day. But every time that I'm ready to throw in the towel, or I get frustrated by the business side of the music, because it's not so much the playing side of it, it's the business, and it's very political, and a lot of things are who you know. I want to throw in the towel, but just as I'm ready to do that, something positive will happen, or I'll get a phone call, and say, hey, we have this gig for you, and it could be like I got called to go to Guatemala last year, and I played, and getting a chance to go out of the country was an awesome experience. And just recently I had one of those moments where I was ready to throw in the towel, and I get booked to go play at Jazz in the Creek in San Diego, and that's this coming August. So I guess the main thing for me is just to persevere, and even though we all have those days where we want to give up no matter what we're doing, we have to think about why we got in it, and at the end of the day, if you really love what you're doing, even with all the frustrations, it makes you say, okay, let me go a little further. And ultimately, for me, it's been, God has I always want to put Him first, and He has allowed me to stay the course, and I've talked about my 5 P's before, but
and what are they?
And the 5 P's are, for me, the first one is prayer, keeping God first in everything we do, and that is so important. And then the second thing is to prepare ourselves, meaning even when we don't see the jobs there or things are not going right, you still have to prepare as if you're getting ready to go play a show, at Carnegie Hall, or do something that is, you're getting ready to play in front of thousands of people. So always be prepared. And then after that is being persistent, which ties into, even though you may not see the results that you want to at the given moment that you're in, you have to visually see it in your mind. So be persistent. But along with that, we have to be patient, because God's time is not our time. But if we've done all of those, it'll pay off for us in the end.
Oh, I love that, the 5 P's.
5 P's.
Now, Reggie, I understand you played at the President Obama's inauguration.
I was very blessed to do that. I tell you, it was an experience that I will never forget, and just to get in the venue that I played at was like a 6-hour ordeal. I've never seen so much security. Didn't get to meet the president, but just to be asked to do that was a tremendous honor for me, and I saw a lot of stars and celebrities, and I was well received. People loved my band and the music that we did, and like I said, it would have been nice if it had gotten more publicity, but it's on my resume, so I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity to do that.
Okay, so tell me about your current project. I understand that you travel on the weekends, and you play where?
I play at a church in Woodbridge, Virginia, called Word of Life Christian Church. It's a pastor, Antonio McElroy, and I met the pastor when he was a chaplain here at Fort Bragg.
Oh.
I played at a chapel on Fort Bragg for 3.5 years, called Wood Memorial Church, and Chaplain McElroy. Well, before that, one of my good friends, Mr. Preston Ross, who I played with at a church called Insoul many years ago, had invited me or asked me to come and play at Wood one Sunday. And when I did that, Chaplain McElroy at the time asked me if I would come and, well, after he heard me play, he said, would you like to come out here and play at Wood Memorial Chapel? And I said, of course. And he got a contract for me and made it happen. And I stayed there 3.5 years. And the 3.5 years that I was there, Chaplain McElroy was there only one of those years. And he said, when I leave, well, he got stationed to the Pentagon. But he said, I'm going to keep in touch with you. And he did. And once he got to the Pentagon, he decided he wanted to start a church. And he moved. He would call me periodically and say, hey, how you doing? I want to plant a seed in your spirit. I want you to consider, you know, coming up here to play in my, you know, in my ministry. I'm starting a new church here, and I want you to be a part of it. And so, you know, after we got all the particulars worked out, you know, it's been a great blessing for me. And so I'm gone every weekend. I'm commuting right now.
How do you feel? How do you like to travel?
It can wear you out. I'm getting used to it, though. I mean, I traveled anyway, but you know, this is the first time I would say, you know, consistently, every single week, unless I'm doing something else. So I say all that to say I'm never home, but you know, a musician doesn't want to be sitting at home anyway. Exactly. So I look at it, hey, I get to play music and I get to praise the Lord at the same time and get paid for it. so you know, it's a triple blessing for me.
Okay. Now, Reggie, tell us about this latest album, Always in Motion.
Always in Motion. Well, that came about just as we were talking about. I was talking with my manager on the phone one weekend, and she said, Reggie, every time I talk to you, you're always going somewhere, always doing something, and you're never sitting still. And so she said, you know what, you got to name your next record Always in Motion. And that's how the whole project came about. And she said, you know, she said, have you started working on another record? And I said, well, no, I hadn't really thought about it. And she said, well, you need to, because at the time, my Vicarious Experience record was out.
Which is my favorite, by the way.
Oh.
And I wonder why it would be my favorite.
Well, because we have you on the cover.
Exactly, because I'm on the cover of it.
That's
yes,
right,
of course.
That's right. And so after doing that, I got to, you know, I had a single on the record called Getting to Know You, which made some noise out there, but I said there was something else that I wanted to do. I wanted to reach a broader audience, particularly on the West Coast. And you know, smooth jazz out on the West Coast, it seems to have a different vibe than music here on the South. You know, I like more urban, funky type of grooves, and you know, out on the West Coast, it's more smooth and laid back. And I said, I always like playing in LA, you know, and I said I want to explore that market a little more. And so I started thinking about, well, let me make a more smooth jazz, laid back record. And so I got to thinking about who I wanted to get, and of course, one of my favorite guitarist out there was a guy named Niels, who's a smooth jazz guitarist who's actually from Germany. He produced the record, and my manager opened the door for that to happen. And I gained a tremendous friendship with Niels, and through that, he said to me, he said, Reggie, who do you want on the record? And I said, well, I'd like to have a bunch of people, but a lot of it is, you know, how much it's going to cost us. And long story short, I ended up, I've always been a big fan of Jeff Lorber, so I was able to get him on the record along with a guy named Ricky Lawson, who played drums with Michael Jackson for years. And of course, 2 months after we finished the record, Ricky passed away. So I was blessed to get Ricky on, you know, my recording, because that was one of the final projects that he had ever gotten a chance to record on or play on. So for me, you know, that was an honor. And it took me 14 months to make this record. You know, I didn't have a lot of, as much say-so in it as I would have liked to. I said, let me sit back and let the producer lead this one. And so he wrote, I think I only co-wrote 3 of the songs on there. The rest of them he wrote, and it's 10 tracks.
So how's this album different from the others, Reggie?
I would say it still has the Reggie Codrington sound, whatever that is, smooth and laid back or relaxing. But there was definitely more time spent on the arrangements. You know, I would go and play a solo and just think it was killing, you know, and Niels, the producer, would say, no, I think you can do it better. And I'm like, better? So he really pushed me. So I spent a lot of time on it. I think that's why it took me basically 14 months to do this record.
Well, what does it normally take you to do a record?
Well, if I don't have anybody whispering in my ear, I mean, I made my Christmas record in about 5 weeks.
Okay.
You know, but
Speaking Gonzalez.
Yeah, that was a rush. But sometimes, you know, quality is what we really want, and sometimes, you know, we need that person to push us to go the extra mile and say, hey, you know, what you did is great, but I think you can do even better. So, you know, it's just constantly moving forward, and I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do on my next project, you know, because this is my 10th CD. You know, I can't even believe I made 10 CDs.
Wow.
You know, when I first started, I just wanted to make one. But like I said, the business of getting that record played and promoted, that's a whole nother animal.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, a lot of it is, you know, having money to promote, to advertise in magazines. And of course, back in the day when you had record companies, they would do more of that, but before the artist saw anything, they're going to recoup their money. And a lot of times, the only way you really make money is by going out and playing live. And it's hard to even get live shows if you're not getting airplay, or a lot of people don't know you, because at the end of the day, promoters want to do things that are going to sell tickets for them. And if people don't know who you are, you know, they're not going to come to your show. Although you could be the greatest musician in the world, but if people don't know about you, doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means something, but to the promoters and the people that are putting on shows, they don't want to deal with you. At the end of the day, they're looking at the dollar, you know, and are you going to be able to sell tickets?
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your San Diego project that you have coming out.
Yeah, it's called Jazz at the Creek. And from what I used to see it advertised a lot on the internet, and I've heard some people talk about it, but there's a lady named Rhonda Powell that reached out to my people and said, hey, we want to have this guy. So I'm getting a chance to go out and do my own show, taking my own group, you know, and I'm gonna have a great time and make it happen. And I've never been to San Diego. I've been to Los Angeles plenty of times, but San Diego, that's gonna be a first for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
You said that's in August. What's the date of that?
August 15th.
August 15th.
Yeah, August 15th, Jazz at the Creek in San Diego. So, I'm gonna have fun.
Okay. Now, Reggie, have you ever thought about touring?
All the time. I'm working on something now. Once I get it inked and signed, it's going to take me over to the European market. So after that, it's already been talked about that, hey, we're going to bring you over to Europe, and you know, I'm going to go over there and pretty consistently, you know, and try to build a great fan base over there as well. But and I also want to get on the motivational speaking circuit, you know, and inspire people, because really at the end of the day, that's what it's all about for me. And you know, being born with cerebral palsy and saying that you couldn't do this and can't do this, and having so many obstacles thrown at me, and I'm still here fighting. You know, I want to go out and inspire people along with playing. You know.
Now, has cerebral palsy affected you in any way when it comes to your music?
No, I mean, it was definitely a challenge because there are times, you know, where my muscles on my right side will tighten up, or, you know, I'm maybe not as limber as I would like to be, but, you know, I have a mother, my mom Joyce, who exercised me and pushed me and motivated me every day. I did physical therapy for years, and I still need to do more exercising. Maybe I'd get in better shape than what I am now. But, you know, I haven't let it stop me. I don't believe in anything letting us stop us. At the end of the day, if we stay the course, we can win. So I'm always out to be positive, no matter the days that I have where I want to give up. You know, I look at it overall and I ask myself, why did I get in this? And again, it was to inspire and encourage and motivate people. And I think that's what it's all about for me.
Okay. Reggie, what is the ultimate goal that you would like to achieve when it comes to your music?
The ultimate goal for me is to, like I said, allow my music to be a blessing and sort of a healing for people. And really just bring people joy and love, peace, really fruits of the spirit, you know. And so for me, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to bring joy and relaxation to people after a hard day, you know, of, you know, coming home, you know, having to deal with people, just got on your nerves. They can put on a nice Reggie Codrington record, or if you don't want to put on my record, any record that relaxes you. I'm just a lover of music. But hey, if they do love Reggie Codrington and love my music, hey, that's a blessing. That's what it's all about.
Now, who do you listen to, Reggie? You've had a long day and you come home, and of course you can pop in one of your CDs, but who else do you listen to?
Yeah, and actually a lot of times I don't listen to my own music. I grew up, you know, listening to Miles Davis, Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, Dexter Gordon, Joe Henderson, Herbie Hancock, a lot of the artists of the, you know, 50s and 60s. And so I have that side of me, but then I also have the side where, you know, I listened to Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, you know, Grover Washington, David Sanborn, you know, who else? Gosh, just so many to name. And I've even gotten into where I like country music.
Oh,
you know?
really?
I mean, I will listen to country music. I've tried to broaden my horizons, and I don't limit myself to anything, because as a musician, you never know what you're going to be asked to play. And at the end of the day, you know, money will make you play a lot of things you don't want to play. But, you know, you know, like I said, I'm just a big fan of music, and I try to be open to all genres of music. You know.
Now, what do you do in your free time, Reggie?
In my free time, you know, of course, I like to sit down and watch movies. I like to cook, you know.
What's your specialty when you cook?
Oh, maybe baked chicken.
Okay.
You know, I'm not you know, I wouldn't call myself a gourmet cook, but I'm not going to starve. So, and I, you know, I just like getting in the kitchen, taking my own time, and just, you know, seeing what I created, and it tastes good, and, you know, I gained weight off of it. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. But that's something I enjoyed doing. Also enjoying good conversation with people like yourself. And
yes, we've had many conversations.
yes, and they've been very helpful and very enjoyable, and you have done a lot to inspire me and keep me going. And I wish I had more time to to talk with you, but it seems like we're always busy. But
Yes.
we managed to catch up, and at the end of the day, you know, I always tell people, you know, you don't have to talk to somebody every day necessarily to be a great friend. If you know, the true friends are the ones you may not talk to them in 3 years, pick up, and it's like you never missed a beat. And like one of my best friends that I grew up with, his name is Sean Sweat. He has been one of the greatest friends to me ever, and we've been childhood friends since the 5th grade. And we talk pretty much every week, but we might go sometime, maybe 4 weeks, and it's like we haven't missed a beat, you know. And so real true friendship, that's what's important, and motivating each other to keep on going, especially in today's times.
Yes, and I know you've been a great friend to me. You know, you asked me to be on the cover of your album, and you also wrote a song, and you entitled it Shanessa's Theme, and I was very, very honored. I thought it was very sweet, so I want to thank you for always being there for me as well, and encouraging me, you know, because there have been times that I just feel like just giving up, and you were like, no, Shanessa, you got to keep it going. So.
Gotta keep going, that's right, that's right.
What kind of legacy, Reggie, would you like to leave behind?
Something just always being positive and encouraging, and having something, leaving something like my music, something of substance behind that hopefully, you know, I don't have any kids right now.
He said right now.
You know, but, you know, hopefully, you know, somebody out there can say, hey, you know, he really inspired me to do what I'm doing. And that's been the wonderful thing for me. I've had people even text me today who said, hey, you know, just seeing you play, you know, or hearing you, or the way you spoke to me has inspired me to want to play, you know. And so for me, you know, touching lives in a positive way, that's the legacy that I would like to leave.
Okay.
And,
now your next project, Reggie, I want you to tell me a little bit now. How did you come up with the title of the album, and how did you come up with the song titles, and where do you get your inspiration from?
It could be many different things, you know. It could be on my travels on the train or the plane, I might see somebody, or I'll have a conversation about something that inspired me. It could be the sound of a car, you know, the engine, you know, or just, it could be the way, the rhythm in which somebody walks, you know, hearing the shoes hit the floor. A lot of things can inspire me, but at the end of the day, it's you know, sometimes I don't name things until it's completely finished, and I'll sit back and I'll say, okay, what does this make me think of? How does it make me feel? And that's how I'll come up with the title, you know. And sometimes, you know, you do want to think about titles or making your music in such a way that it will move somebody in terms of, you know, whether they were feeling sad or whether they were feeling joy. Of course, we don't want to write. I don't want to write too many sad songs, but it's a matter of you know, just as long as the music makes you feel good, you know. And sometimes it could be, you know, just coming up with a melody and putting, you know, having a drum program or drum machine, you know, and programming a certain beat or groove that makes you want to, you know, start hearing a melody. And that's one way. And then another time, you know, somebody, you know, could send me a track of beautiful chords, and piano chords or guitar chords, and I'll hear melody. So it's many different ways that I come up with my songs, and hopefully, you know, I'm still waiting to write that smash hit.
Okay, all right. Now, Reggie, let everyone know how to purchase Always in Motion.
Always in Motion, you can purchase it on my website, ReggieCodrington.com.
Please spell that.
And my last name is Codrington, Codrington. If you just punch in Reggie Codrington, it's easy to find. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on CD Baby. You can find all of my music on cdbaby.com, Amazon. I'm on quite a few sites. Just punch in my name. I'm very easy to find.
Okay. Of course, I wish you continued success. I know you would do well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you for continuing to encourage and motivate me, and you keep doing what you're doing as well.
And I thank you as well.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience, for viewing Let's Talk with Dr. Shanessa Fenner.
Hypnotized, familiar, stranger, wait, hold up, don't